you are wondering why this is a problem we must all concern ourselves about. The answer is simple. Without bees, there would be no people, and without people, there would be no towns, municipalities, or cities. We did some research and have some facts to share with you. In the United States, 30% of the bee population dies every year. In Europe, 20% of the bee population dies every year. Some private beekeepers sometimes lose 90% of their bees. In 1947, there were 5.9 million bees in the world. In 2008, there were only approximately 2.44 million bees. In Europe, the production of honey has gone down from 32,000 tons to 9,000 tons. Members of our team also mentioned that when they were younger, there were bees in the flowers and now there are very few. If the bees disappear completely, 1/3 of the food we eat will be gone. As many plants depend on bees for pollination, here's a video that we would like to share with you.
Role on Earth. Some even claim that if they go extinct, humanity would be next. So with the dramatic decline in bee population, should we be worried? What happens if the bees all die? Simply put, if a plant produces a flower, you can bet that bees help them reproduce. This long-standing working relationship evolved with flowers being bright and fragrant to attract bees, and the bees' fuzzy, velcro-like bodies helping them to efficiently transfer pollen from the male part of the plant to the female part. This seemingly simple mechanism is directly responsible for the production of 70% of fruits, vegetables, seeds, and nuts we consume on a daily basis. 70%, which translates into almost $200 billion in global agriculture revenue. This huge responsibility is accomplished by droves of commercial bees reared by professional beekeepers for the sole purpose of being transported to farms or orchards to pollinate crops. But since 2006, these hardworking, busy bees have been mysteriously disappearing. This colony collapse disorder has seen an average of 1/3 of commercial bees abandoning their hives. In fact, some beekeepers have even reported that 90% of their bees have simply buzzed off. In some colonies, mites, viruses, and parasites have been to blame, but many are now looking at a class of insecticides called neonicotinoids. This neurotoxin is used to kill off crop-eating insects and pests, but also affects the central nervous system of bees when they consume contaminated nectar. And since nectar is brought back to hives, the entire colony can be affected, leading to mass confusion and disorientation. On top of this, other factors such as extremely cold and long winters, a lack of genetic diversity in commercial bees, and less variable nectar in the fields may be at fault. If the trend continues, entire food chains and webs may be at risk. Take almond plants, for example. The hulls of these nuts are used as feed for farm cattle and chickens. Fewer bees means fewer almonds, which could mean declining livestock and ultimately less milk, cheese, eggs, and meat production. Not to mention, almonds are used in cereal, baking, and many other food products. Beef and dairy cows would also be harshly affected by the vanishing alfalfa fields, which are used to harvest hay for cattle. Looking for that morning buzz? Considering bees pollinate Coffea arabica, whose seeds we grind for coffee, you can count that out. Without bees, our diets would consist of mostly corn, wheat, and rice, as they are wind-pollinated plants. Like your clothes, not only is cotton the biggest cash crop in the US, it also makes up about 35% of the world's fiber use. So you can forget about those blue jeans, towels, mattresses, and high-quality paper products. Simply put, we'd be living in a completely different world without bees, not to mention suffering a substantial economic strain from their disappearance. So while we may not necessarily go extinct should the downward trend persist, a world without the buzz of bees would definitely stink. Want a free copy of our new book? Now you can get one from audible.com/ASAP, which is the leading provider of audiobooks with over 100.
We are here to ask that you prepare a pollinator action plan. This plan could include educating your citizens about the disappearance of bees through pamphlets and what families can do in their own backyard to help. We have with us a handout which we have sent to all the families at our school. Having more pollinator-friendly spaces in public gardens with flowers that bees and other pollinators like. D. Installing bee hotels in public spaces. Type of bees which live in these hotels. Mason bees are solitary. The males do not have stingers, and a female will only sting if trapped or squeezed. This makes them an ideal neighbor for home gardens since they pose little to no threat of stinging. E. Recreation Department organize information sessions about the disappearance of bees, which includes the construction of a bee hotel for Mahone. Thank you for listening to our presentation. Please help us save the bees. As we said in our presentation at NSCC, it's our business to help the bees save their business. We also have a bag of seeds, which is our gift to you.
Excellent.
Oh,
Bring it up here.
wonderful.
Thank you very much. And we'll ensure that, and we'll see that those flowers get planted. And this is the brochure. Thank you as well. Very impressive. It's very important, obviously, to get our bees back.
Yes.
We're going to get a picture over here. Look. And let's come over this way. You gotta do this part too. Down here. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh my
This is an
goodness.
example of the bee hotel. The kids made it so.
This is the bee hotel?
Oh. The type of-
Oh, right there.
That was my question. I had two questions, but first I wanted to thank you very much. It was a very interesting, concise, and I think important presentation. I appreciated it very much. My questions are, what type of seeds are those? Number one, and do they attract, a second part of that, would they attract any other insects other than bees? And can you tell me something about the construction of this bee hotel and how easy or difficult you found it?
The seeds are to attract bees.
Yeah.
We don't know if they attract
What kind of flowers are they?
insects. They're
Maybe the mayor can read the
Well,
package.
according to the label, it's betony, anise hyssop, and garlic chive.
Oh, so it's okay.
It's a perennial pollinator mix. Is what it's
Wonderful.
called.
And do you know if these seeds are available around here to if someone wanted to buy more?
They're produced locally.
They are produced Wallace. Look at that.
There you go.
Okay.
And if you could tell me something about your pollinator, your bee hotel, I'd love to hear more about it.
Well, it was pretty easy to make. All you have to do is cut some paper straws up, put them there, take little cardboard pieces, glue them together, drill holes in some wood. It's simple.
Mhm.
You just have to have the time to do it and the patience.
And I like that it looks like
Even
you
a
used
counselor
reused.
could make one.
Yeah.
There were some reused materials in there too, so
Yes.
congratulations. Well done.
That's great.
Excellent.
Thank you very much for coming in to talk with us tonight and sharing this information with us. I hope we will all take the opportunity this summer to try and improve the quality of life for bees in Mahone Bay. Thank you. Counselor.
Before our presenters leave, I wonder if it's possible to commit to putting something in the mayor's newsletter saying we received a presentation and just briefly mentioning some of the issues.
I think it's a good idea, and some of the information, this in itself could be posted on the town's website perhaps. Okay?
With a link to that lovely video.
Right.
Yeah. That video is available online, is it? Good. Even better. Okay. Thank you again. Okay, let's go to item 3.2. The Twin Bays Coalition, folks. I'm going to talk about open pen fish farming. I would remind everyone that presenters are limited to a 10-minute time frame to do their presentation, and the council will have an opportunity to ask questions after that. If persons in the gallery have any questions or comments they would like to make, those comments will relate to anything that is discussed during the council meeting. And that happens after the meeting is over. Okay, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and councilors. Next time, can I go before the kids? Goodness, they're good. Holy cow. My name is Sid Demerick.
Yeah.
I'm
Should
with
we
the-
put our, yes, if you've got a
Yes,
presentation.
are you ready on that computer down there?
Oh, would you do that for me,
We
please?
won't start your time until we get this.
Oh, good. Can I do my introduction without outside the 10 minutes?
Do it now.
Go
while
for
we're-
it.
We're great.
I'll click
You got a
slowly.
chance.
So this is our fourth
on there.
municipal presentation, and I always like to connect with the council. So I can tell you that I've lived in Lunenburg County for a long, long time, but I have a couple of direct connections with Mahone Bay. My dad's best friend, Bobby Merchant's sister-in-law, ran the teaser for many, many years. And my son Alex is the deputy CAO for the municipality of the District of Lunenburg. And Reverend Lee Simpson is my grandmother-in-law. By which I mean we share grandchildren.
But I'm a blue ear.
Yes, and my buddy, Jeff LeBlanc, is from St. Margaret's Bay, and he and I are kind of implicated in forming the Twin Bays Coalition. And I would also like to recognize Alex's mother, Sandy, who is a very key supporter. Without Sandy, nothing happens.
Sandy, wave your hand. Sandy's hiding back in the corner.
So we're good to go. So Jeff and I are representing the Twin Bays Coalition. And the Twin Bays Coalition is a whole lot of very concerned citizens from St. Margaret's Bay, Mahone Bay, Lunenburg Bay, and the mouth of the Lahave River, all of which have been optioned by Cermaq, a Norwegian firm wholly owned by Mitsubishi to put fish farms. They have an option to study the area with the intention of putting fish farms here. Next slide. We are not alone. The whole coast of Nova Scotia is surrounded by groups that have the same mission as us. We do not want open-pen fish farms in our bays. Next slide.
I guess I have to slide it.
Okay. But we do believe in aquaculture. We
Click
see.
the slideshow icon there, it'll give you the.
We see aquaculture as a great way to feed the world and solve the world's growing food population, but we believe very strongly in closed containment, land-based aquaculture. There's a beautiful example of that here in Nova Scotia, which I'll talk about later. I want to talk specifically about Mahone Bay because I know Mahone Bay best, and I had this chart on my wall, but I'm working on a chart for St. Margaret's Bay. But the areas you see outlined in red are the areas that qualify for a 25-meter depth that Cermaq is looking for their fish farms. And I want to point out some key areas that have the 25-meter depth. Just in the lee of Second Peninsula, hard up against beautiful Bachman's Island, is a gorgeous spot with 25 meters of depth in the lee of Second Peninsula. A salmon farmer would see that as being a #1 spot. Unfortunately for us, it's hard against Bachman's Island, and it's going to pretty well block the entrance to the Lahave, to the Lunenburg Yacht Club. Other areas would block the entrance to Deep Cove, the entrance to the East River, where there's a multi-million-dollar elver fishery. The lower left is where the Lunenburg Yacht Club have their Sunday races. The middle is where Chester Race Week has their world-famous race week. Now these farms are a very serious, heavy-duty industrial farm. These are not mom-and-pop operations. One lease covers 170 acres of bottom and water. 2.5 times the size of Meisner's Island, if you're familiar with it. That's the bottom, and that would give Cermaq the right to put their 30-acre fish farm anywhere in that 170 acres, or even plunk it around from place to place, because they have the lease on they are looking for the lease on 170 acres, and they want 4 of these. They say 2 will be fallow and 2 will be active. One of these pens will hold it could be 1 million or more salmon if the lease has 10 pens, it's 900,000 salmon. If it has 14 pens, you can do the math. They're lit up all night. They have a feeding barge, mechanical feeding, by the way, not people feeding. They have pumps to aerate the water if the water's too hot or the water's too cold. They have lights all night long. Sometimes they shine the lights in the water. I don't know why, but we have noise pollution, visual pollution, light pollution, and taking up vast areas of real estate. It's a huge thing that you would not allow in Mahone Bay. You wouldn't allow it in any town anywhere. And why anybody would think it would be permitted in our beautiful Mahone Bay is it's just beyond us. But Jeff, could you talk a little more about the specific problems?
Well, as you go back, I think it's important, Sid, to let people know about this. The Mitsubishi, massive company, deep pockets, has a very sophisticated public relations campaign. Have they met with you?
Yes, they presented right
So
here.
they met with us. There was 3 wonderful young people, really bright Canadian people, based here, kids, for me, a kid. And so why is this happening here? We've fought this. We've had this fight before, like 10 years ago. So we're citizen-based, all volunteer. This is our mission statement. But the last sentence is what I wanted to draw your attention to. We support the expansion of proven, profitable, exportable, Nova Scotia-based aquacultural technology. So that's what we're talking about. If some of you are going to the Unity Lunch on Tuesday, Mahone Bay Center, you'll hear Kirk Havercroft from Sustainable Blue, who's going to be presenting sort of the bedrock of one of these great options. Nova Scotia has an opportunity here to take a leading place globally in the blue revolution. This is the alternative. So I think everybody knows this list. Do you know this list? Everybody knows this list. The amount of feces that go through the traps. So our resident scientist in all of this, a person named Inka Malevsky, I finally said there's all this debate about how much poop is there. One counselor at one of our presentations actually had